I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about something I just love to rip on, and that is woke white libs. Kamala Harris is, she has her like white guys for Harris, and there's a white women thing for Harris. Not all of them in the group are actually women. Very interesting. So we'll be talking about some of the cringe that has come up in the past couple of days or hours, I suppose, and why they're doing this, and I guess if it'll be successful. But this is the weirdest freaking stuff ever. Like, it's funny thinking about back in 2008, so many people voted across the aisle for Obama, thinking that we could end racism. How naive and sweet you all were at the time. I still didn't vote for Obama. I still stayed on Team Red, even though I was not a fan of McCain. And, anyway, people literally thought like, oh, we're going to vote for Obama and it's going to end racism. It's going to heal all the divides. And Obama, he ran originally for to be the president for all people. He kind of changed up his thinking a bit. The second time he ran was more intersectionality stuff, and as he embraced kind of more radical policies and stuff that you see really just being pushed forward to the max with the Biden administration, which will be even worse with the Harris administration. But now we're at the point where everyone has to be obsessed with their race, with their gender, with their sexuality, and that's what we focus on politics. And we're not in a good spot. We're really not in a good spot. And I don't like the self-flogging from the white folks. I don't like them infantilizing Black people while trying to uplift Black people, but act like we're children and we can't take criticism and we can't take deep conversations. And, and then they don't even apply their standards across the board, because it's like, oh, listen to the Black people or people of color. Oh, but if they're conservative or something, then they're obviously Uncle Tom brainwashed, and then you get to treat them just like trash. Those are like the rules. So we're gonna have a good laugh today. At least I am. I don't know if you're gonna laugh along at some of this craziness, but it's sad, it's weird, and it's just all in between. But there's a lot to say. There's certainly a lot to say. Before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that good stuff. So you guys can support. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you to those of you who are watching it live and those of you who are watching back later. I very much appreciate it, especially when something's going on and someone's in the chat like, I can't hear you, or thank you. Like folks who give comments like that. But just thank you to everyone who watches at whatever time that you can watch. And when you guys do comment and interact with each other, that does help other people find the stream. And I thank you to those who tell other people to watch and subscribe and share my stuff. I appreciate it. If you do want to support another kind of way, you guys can go to the website and donate if you would like to do it that way. Because it does cost to stream and run the site, all that stuff. And there are some needs that I do have at blacktnews.com. So if you guys can support, thank you very much. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. Tonight, 8 p.m. I already have it scheduled. It's uploaded on YouTube. The top 10 Trump hoaxes video that I did, I recorded it prior when Joe Biden was actually still the candidate. Actually had to like remove something about it, but in my commentary in the video, but things just happen so quickly. But I'm premiering that tonight. It's going to have some hoaxes like this losers and suckers hoax and the very fine people hoax and Russia collusion and all kinds of stuff, things that maybe you forgot. In my opinion, the list of the order is how damaging I think these things were to Trump and the country and stuff. So if anyone has any other suggestions for other hoaxes that I should cover after they watch the video, I encourage you guys to leave them in the comments and I can cover those if you think they need to be covered. There's one in particular that I didn't cover that I think is important to cover now that I will do a special video on, which is Trump's behavior during the Central Park 5 case, because people just have an opinion that he took out an ad to just call for the hanging of those kids, and that's actually not what happened. So people put that stuff on ads. So if they're going to put that kind of stuff in ads, it's important that people talk about it and push back against these narratives. Not because I particularly just kind of want to or whatever, but because it's important. It's important. And for the electorate to know the truth, it's important. And so somebody's got to do it because other people haven't, or some people have, and but we need something kind of more concise. So I'll try to put that together and continue making content like that. And if you like my content again and you appreciate that kind of content, I do ask that you go ahead and that you support Black Tea News, so I can continue doing that and continue doing more of that and maybe get some help to continue doing that kind of stuff. So I'm a lone wolf in this mostly. So, if you can support and just kind of grow the vision, fund the mission, I appreciate it. Is there anything else I want to say before any other announcements? Besides tonight, 8 p.m., that video, will go live and premiere. That's going on. Go to the website, drop in your email and other stuff. I'm going to have some more articles out soon. I am working on kind of an updated version 2 of my abortion book, and I'll have that. I mean, you can still get the original, but version 2 will be re-released soon. So it just has some more depth on some of the focus on the issues, and there's some more sections that were added, and there's a whole new chapter at the end. So not at the very end, but the second to the last. Well, yeah, I guess there's a new last chapter, and then there's the conclusion. So just be on the lookout for that. That'll be soon, and I'll be dropping a lot more articles on the particular topic as well. So anyway, let's hop to it. Now, I think the first thing I want to point out is that, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I think masculinity is on the ballot this year. And not just because it's a man versus a woman. And I don't love the identity politics stuff myself, but seeing the groveling of the white dudes for Kamala Harris and what they're pushing is so cringe. And I think it's so destructive. And how they're weaponizing people's emotions and their feelings to get people to vote rather than discussing any policy, really, and people being able to look at things critically. They don't even represent Trump's policies accurately. They just want to go off of fear mongering and I was so sad when Hillary Clinton didn't win the election, and I felt like I failed my daughters because we could have had a woman, and now we can have a woman. That's not how we should push society, man. We should push for competence. People are going to make good policies for people across the board. And it can easily be a woman. It can easily be a man, but it's not Kamala Harris. It's not Kamala Harris. So, anyway, Kamala Harris is not the person. She's just not the person. So, I want to show you guys this video, this TikTok video from this guy, Harry Sisson. And he's paid by the Democrat Party. Not directly. He works for a company that pallet management or something like that, and they pay him. So the DNC pays this company, and then they pay him. So he isn't directly paid, but everyone knows that this kid is a shill, and he has about 1 million followers. I think he had 1 million, and maybe he lost some. I'm not sure, but it's up like past 900,000 followers. And so this particular video I'm going to show you, he has 1 million views on this video. I just replied to it on Facebook. I mean, on TikTok, but he's replying to a guy who has about a little less than 900,000, a little less than 100,000 followers. And he made a video saying that if your boyfriend is voting for Kamala Harris, you actually have a girlfriend. Now, that line was kind of joking, but his point was that you can't just vote for somebody because they're a woman. You have to have more substance in that. So the overall general message that he was getting at, it was pretty good. And so Harry went in and said his piece here, and just focused on that one beginning part, and just decided to rip on Trump and then misrepresent Trump's position. So I'm gonna go ahead and share this with you guys. Now, again, this kid is a paid shill, and then he's everywhere. He interviewed Biden. He I saw him on, he goes on the news sometimes. I think he's been on CNN. I think he's been on Piers Morgan's show, I think, or maybe that was his buddy. There's like two of them. Harry's the one with more followers, but I can't even think of the other kid's name. But they have some wild takes, really wild takes. And this one is annoying. So, you know, he's part of the reason why I think masculinity is on the ballot, because these kinds of weirdo kids cannot be the future direction that we walk toward. We just can't.
If your boyfriend is voting for Kamala Harris this upcoming election, you have a girlfriend. You don't have a boyfriend. You don't have a real man next to your side. Let's all be honest here. People who vote for Kamala Harris don't necessarily care about the actual policy change. And if you have a boyfriend that's voting for Kamala Harris, he simply is the type of person that just wants to make history.
All right. This dude specifically, I always find it funny when I see guys like you talking about politics in this way, because it's so clear to the rest of us that you are incredibly insecure. You're incredibly insecure in your own masculinity. So you have to do stuff like this, saying, well, you're not a real man if you vote for Kamala Harris. I'm a real man because I'm going to support Trump. And also, buddy, do you really think that? You really think it's manly to support Donald Trump, a guy who was found liable in court by a jury of his peers for assaulting a woman? A guy who bragged on audio about grabbing women by the blank. He doesn't even wait. He just does it. A guy who took reproductive rights away from millions of women in this country and is now threatening their right to contraception, their right to IVF. You think that's manly? Because I don't know about you, buddy, but I don't think any of that's manly. I don't think real men attack women. I don't think real men take away their reproductive rights. I don't think real men talk about women in that way. I think real men stand up to people who do those things. There's nothing manly about voting for convicted felon Donald Trump. What is manly is voting for Kamala Harris and standing with women, not above women, which you seem to want to do.
So he did reply to Harry here, and in his original video, he didn't say anything about supporting Trump. The kid has now since then, I mean, he's not a kid, but he's younger than me. He has since come out and said that he's going to vote for Trump. Maybe that's because all these thousands upon thousands of people, leftists, have been bullying him in his comments. So you have all these aggressive people coming at him. It doesn't make him want to vote for Kamala Harris. So that's not persuasive, you know? But he said his point was that you should not just vote for someone because they're a woman. And in his original post, he's saying people just want to be part of history, and you need to vote, and you need to focus on policy. There are so many people who want to make history, be part of history. And that was true with Obama, and that's going to be true with Kamala. You have to have a better reason than that. I don't even know if she has any policies listed on her website yet for what she supports. But we all know, not we all know, but I know, hopefully you know, about some of the things that she supported back in 2020. She's trying to run for some of those things, but we have the tape, and we're going to assume that those are still her positions, because she is one of the most liberal people who's ever been in the Senate. Okay. So his position that yeah, you should vote for Kamala Harris for actual policy reasons, or vote for Trump for actual policy reasons, and not actually because one's a man, one's a woman, etc. He also dissed Harry here, saying that, you know, you don't really know much about real masculinity. Masculine men are providers, they're protectors, and so on. Like that's how you look at men. And if they're manly, if they're doing their job, they should still be kind, but they need to be strong, right? So as to what Harry said, first of all, the grab him by the you know what tape, I didn't like that. That was like a crucial moment in the election period back in 2016. And man, when that dropped, people felt so defeated on the right. And Trump viciously fought back during the debate. He fought for his life, man. He had a special save your life coin, like it was a video game. He's like, I had one in my pocket, and it was like save himself from being game over. Like that was that movie Ready Player One, at the end when everybody was gone, and he had like a save your life thinking coin or whatever, and came back. That's what like Trump's second debate with Hillary Clinton was. So people didn't like it, and it was one of the only times I've seen Trump apologize for something, and he apologized for his rhetoric, but he said it was locker room talk. And most honest people, I think, accept that, because if you guys follow me, you've heard me say this before. I had to work during the Michigan recount, which was really annoying because it was supposed to be my vacation. Okay. It was the Michigan recount, and I was on the west side of the state. I don't know why, because I worked in the middle and I lived on the southeast, but they put me on the west side of the state for whatever reason. So I was on the west side of the state, and you can see I'm still a little annoyed by it, but I was on the west side of the state, and there were Jill Stein's people there, and there was also Hillary's people there. Now the Jill Stein people were actually pro-Hillary people. They were all the same, but they just were under Jill Stein's name. And the Trump people came, they're ready to recount and look at the ballots, and they felt like they were about to save democracy, right? Like their eyes are glued, they're ready to go, pretty like, you know, like this is important. And the other folks are just kind of like, oh, well, I'm like, why are you making us go through this if you're not even gonna like be eyes on the ballots as we're counting them? So anyway, the recount ended up getting stopped by Bill Schuette. They took some stuff to the court and ended up stopping it. So we got to pack up and leave or whatever. So as I was packing up my stuff for the GOP, you know, I was having a conversation with the guys who worked for Hillary Clinton and Jill Stein and their boyfriends, I guess, or their friend. One of them I knew was like their boyfriend, and the other guy, it was a friend. But everyone was gay except for me. They're gay white men, and I'm the black woman. And I'm the black woman working for the GOP, and they're all white dudes, right? And they did ask me if I was genuinely a Republican or if I was just there because I was paid. And I'm like, and they're like, well, there's someone else who's a lawyer who's here because she's paid. And I'm like, no, I'm literally a conservative. So way to assume things, guys. So we were talking about the Access Hollywood tape, and they all admitted that they talk like that in locker rooms. That or not just locker rooms, that is their vernacular. They speak far more foul things than Trump got caught saying on that hot mic to another guy. They all, I was the only one who didn't have that kind of language. So they're kind of like, it's not actually what everybody was painting it. They could admit that they accepted it as actual locker room talk, and they themselves participate in such a thing. So I also thought it was interesting during that time, the first Deadpool movie came out and was a big hit. It's in the top 10 of like all rated R movies. And that film was extra vulgar. Extra vulgar. And I haven't seen this new one or anything like that, but TikTok, it's all over my feed, and I don't think it's probably as I heard it's not as bad as the first one, but it's still got some language in there. So people saying, like, pretending like that was such the worst thing in the world, and they can't accept that that was locker room talk. I don't think that was true. I think you guys are all just pretending to make him out worse than what he is. Okay. As far as the whole E. Jean Carroll, I think that's her name. She's a woman who said that she thought rape was sexy, and she didn't seem to be. I don't want to say too much about her because she out here suing people for a lot of money. So, she's just an interesting individual. And they say that Trump was found like liable for the assault but you notice they didn't say that he was convicted of an actual crime, right? He wasn't actually convicted by a jury of his peers for the crime, because that would require, some evidence and things like that. So probably wouldn't get to that particular threshold that you need. And apparently, wherever you try Trump, there's a case that he's going to be found guilty when you look at the 34 counts that he got convicted over. But anyway, let's get to the real meat that I want to talk to you about this issue with Harry's video. Harry mentioned that it's not manly for Donald Trump to block abortion or IVF or contraceptives. None of those things are anywhere in the ballpark of what Trump is trying to do. Nowhere in the ballpark. And they're just being dishonest. And they know that they're being dishonest. And it's funny that Trump took these positions that he's taking to please the electorate when his opponents just continue to lie about what his position is. But Donald Trump said that he agrees with like the court's decision on the access to the abortion pill. And that's how 2/3 of babies are killed in abortions, by the suffocation and starvation from the pill. That's what happens when you take it. That's what happens to the baby. That's how they actually die. And then the second pill like causes heavy cramping and contractions and forces the dead baby out. That's what actually happens. So Trump supports there being access to that. He says he's not going to block it. So that's a huge chunk of abortions that are readily available. A mutual friend of mine on TikTok actually made the point, and I would assume he's probably more like a states' rights guy. It's probably not an important issue to him. I don't know. I don't think I've really seen him talk about abortion too much, but he made a video saying that abortion isn't on the ballot. They can say that it's on the ballot, but it's not really on the ballot, because even if Kamala says that she's going to write something, Supreme Court's probably going to strike her down with it, when they take that to the courts and push it, and they can't really probably get something done federally. And it's in the Supreme Court, send it back to the states. It's a 10th Amendment states' rights issue, etc., blah, 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 because it's not in the amendment. It's not in the Constitution. So the states get to decide it, which I would argue that the 14th Amendment should cover the unborn, but whatever, we'll go with the 10th Amendment right now. And he said, even in states where abortion is banned, you can still get access somehow to the abortion pill. And he said that if a doctor gives it to you, they can't do that. But if the woman gets access to it and she takes it, nothing's going to happen. So I accidentally, I would assume, exposed the biggest flaw in the pro-life movement, which abolitionists will point this out. if every state in the union became pro-life, and they banned abortion, let's say at the moment of conception, and they're only going to punish the doctors, the abortionist or whatever, but they're saying, oh, but the mothers will always have immunity. That means that if they get access to those pills and they continue to have that abortion, you can't really ban abortion or outlaw it if you always grant the women immunity for it. So the only way to actually, and you never actually all the way stop abortions. You know, murder is not legal, but people go out and kill each other, and it's not legal to steal stuff. People go steal stuff. You can't always get rid of the crime. But as long as there's always going to be an immunity there, you can't really do anything about it. So the abolitionist perspective is that yes, the unborn need to be protected, but we need equal justice. So if something happens to the unborn, whoever does it, whether it's the doctor or the woman or a man who, I don't know, slips an abortion pill in her drink or something, whoever it is, they need to be held accountable for the taking of that life. And that's the only position that could actually lead to an actual ban, because a pro-life position says, let's ban it, but let's still have all these women have basically legal immunity. So he accidentally, I got to do another video about that, because I don't know if he purposely did that or thought about that or knew that or whatever. But anyway, Donald Trump's position is leave it up to the states. He doesn't really want to deal with it anymore. He doesn't want it to be something we talk about. He doesn't want it to be like a big election killer for Republicans or whatever. He just kind of whatever. And he doesn't like early restrictions himself. You know, he's basically transformed the party into a pro-choice party as far as a platform. They used to be like, hey, we wanted a federal kind of ban, or actually they wanted the Constitution to acknowledge the 14th Amendment applies to the preborn. So that would, you know, essentially ban across the country. And Trump had them take that out, and they put in stuff with IVF. And this has upset, you know, evangelicals. This has upset pro-life people. So Trump is risking upsetting his base. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm quite upset about it myself. But Trump is willing to upset those people while going to Christian events and begging them to vote for him. He's willing to tick them off, but still say we're going to support abort whatever the states decide. And then people like Harry and Kamala Harris still go and claim that Donald Trump wants to get rid of contraception, IVF, and abortion. So Harry here is not even man enough to be honest about his position, Kamala's positions, and even Trump's positions. Real men can at least be honest, man. You're just a little boy cosplaying for a very power-hungry woman. You can't even be honest about what Trump supports, because you have to fearmonger your audience, your very large audience, and it's so dishonest. He's not man enough to just plainly admit what he supports, because he called it reproductive rights. What does that mean? Like, I know what they mean. I know what it's like stands in for, because they don't want to say the word abortion. So they say reproductive rights. There's a big problem with that. A human being has already been reproduced, right? So we're not talking about reproductive rights. Like, I don't know whether you want to get your tubes tied or something like that, or go through puberty or whatever. But, you know, those things we could fit under that. Abortion is not about reproduction. It's about stopping the person who's been reproduced from coming out alive of the womb. That's what it's about. So instead of just saying reproductive rights, you could say, I believe that women have a special murder right. And if you want to call it murder, we'll say premeditated homicide. Okay. That's what Harry supports. And he's not man enough to just flat out admit that. Okay. But another thing, though, Harry thinks he's a man, fancies himself to be a man, he says that men are going to stand up for choice and fight for women's reproductive freedom, all that stuff. That is the most anti-manly thing you can do. Sorry. Men are supposed to protect, they're supposed to defend, they're supposed to stand up against injustice, protect the weak and the vulnerable, the innocent, and certainly their progeny, their offspring, their heirs. So if you think taking the back seat to a woman who says that she wants to unalive her child, his child, is manly, I don't know if you were raised. Period. Not even by a man, just were you raised, Harry? Did someone raise you at all? Or were you just manufactured out of some kind of lab with a Biden sticker on your chest? Did someone even raise you? Of course, men, real men, are supposed to stand up for women and children. Real men are supposed to do that. And you can stand up for women and protect women without saying, oh yeah, we should kill the kid. But you know what? Kamala Harris has produced this opinion that men need abortion. And I'm going to show you. Now, Mayor Pete said something the other day that was pretty gross at his Kamala Lamalan or whatever. The little struggle sessions with their white dudes. And he mentioned something that I find to be so grotesque. By the way, I've never liked Mayor Pete, and he was one of my least favorite people who were running. It's rumored that he might be on Kamala's ticket. I don't see the purpose of that other than wanting to totally embrace the intersectionality. But he's being floated around. That seems like a crazy idea to me. He does speak well, but he's so slimy, just like Kamala Harris is slimy. Now, she doesn't really talk too well, but they're both so slimy and insincere. I don't like either one of them. And I don't mean I don't like their policies. I don't, but I don't like them. I personally don't like, I don't know them personally. I've seen enough to know I don't like them. And he said one of the things that I find to be so top tier disgusting. So top tier.
I'm so glad she has made freedom the theme of her campaign, because I think in so many ways that's what's at stake. And yes, women's freedom is Exhibit A after Donald Trump demolished the right to choose. But of course, men are also more free in a country where we have a president who stands up for things like access to abortion care. Men are more free.
So men are more free when we have abortion access. That's so interesting. That's so interesting. It sounds familiar. Do you guys remember when Kamala said this?
Everyone has something at risk on this. First of all, if you are a parent of sons, do think about what this means for the life of your son and what that will mean in terms of the choices he will have.
Everyone's got something to lose when abortion is off the table. Think about your son and their choices. They might not be able to coerce that woman into killing their children if abortion isn't legal. And we have to support these deadbeat dads with dead kids for Kamala Harris. Deadbeat dads with dead kids for Kamala Harris. That's their campaign. The fact that a presidential nominee said that, and she's vice president, I think, when she said that. Yeah, she must have been. She's vice president when she said that. And her potential vice president pick made that assertion as well. And this is why I'm stacking up this theory. I'm like, that masculinity is on the table because the sort of men that they're promoting, that they're trying to create in this world is disgusting. It's disgusting. The sort of men who just takes, the sort of men who doesn't self-sacrifice, the sort of man who doesn't stand up for what is right, who doesn't stand up for justice, who doesn't stand up for the innocent and the vulnerable, the man who just wants to indulge and be a perpetual child forever. One of the most amazing ways you can grow up is to have a family. It's to start raising children. You grow up real fast when you have to take care of a little person. I've heard so many stories of people who got their lives together because they had kids. And there's plenty of people who don't. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But assuming responsibility, even responsibility that you didn't essentially want to take on or purposely didn't take on, still builds character and growth. And I know people follow me who are pro-choice or people who are in the middle who don't feel about it strongly as I do, but abortion breeds weakness. Abortion breeds weakness, guys. It breeds people who think they literally are not free unless they can kill their kids. That is so bizarre. And then people say, well, I don't think we should use it as birth control. And then they'll say stuff like, well, if a woman can't afford it, what the heck? If she's just not ready, what do you think? What do you think we mean when we say people use it as birth control? It means that that your reasons aren't for some kind of medical emergency or something. You just don't want the baby. It just means you don't want them. It means you want to have sex, but you just don't want the baby. That's why people take birth control, because they want to have sex, but they don't want the baby. You're having an abortion because you have a baby, but you don't want them to come out alive. Because you don't want to be burdened with a live child, even if you don't have to take care of them yourself. This mentality, even if she was just like someone from years ago, Democrats from years ago, who were like safe, legal, and rare, which is basically Donald Trump now, I guess, but that would be so much better than this sort of spin that Kamala and Pete and other people have of like, you need to get your head checked. You need to get your life in order. You need to get your priorities straight, but you don't need abortion. You need to grow up. That's what you need. That's what you need. Oh my gosh. Okay, we got some cringe to watch, guys. We got some cringe to share. So Brianna Morello actually watched this White Dudes for Harris video town hall thing that they had going on. And she said, I'm 45 minutes into the White Dudes for Harris virtual meeting. Quick summary of the meeting so far. Calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire is racist. It's not racist. She totally is a DEI hire. Just deal with it. If you either DEI is good or it's not, why are you offended by her being a DEI hire? White men must repent. Flashback 2020. All the white people had to confess their sins. Trump is a rapist. Abortion is a man's right. Just kind of heard that from the Mayor Pete thing. MAGA is toxic. You're all evil. That was her summary. Now she did a mashup. So here's her. She recorded it. I don't know if the whole thing is somewhere, but here's a mashup of some of the stuff that was said. And there's famous actors here. Here's Jeff Bridges, but the guy who did the voice for Olaf, the guy who's Sam and Rudy. in those movies. Rudy, Sam from like Lord of the Rings, Rudy from the Rudy movie. I don't. Is it just what it's called, Rudy? But here we go.
I'm white, I'm a dude, and I'm for Harris.
Over the last few years, you know, I've been thinking a lot about men.
I'm not sure if you guys can recall that feeling you had on the night of Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. I stood over my kid's bed and I wept.
White nationalists in MAGA, they want to speak for you specifically as white men.
In the marginalized communities that educate me every single day, that this is a constant education for all of us.
Kamala is carrying on her shoulders 248 years of pain, of agony, of hope, of frustration. And no matter how high she jumps, no matter how many degrees she has, no matter how good her grades are, she's never good enough because they're always moving the line.
What a variety of whiteness we have here with like a rainbow of beige.
But man, I am scared to death of what the future could look like if we go back to another Trump administration, one that truly left working construction white men behind.
You've seen it with congressional leaders who have called Vice President Harris a DEI candidate.
Of course, men are also more free in a country where we have a president who stands up for things like access to abortion care.
Let's be clear about who Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are. Donald Trump is a 34-time convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, and a congenital liar. He's a fraud. And J.D. Vance is his mini-me. I even created my own cognitive test that describes the two of them. Sofa, dolphin, shark, cats, convict.
Real men respect women, their decisions, their careers. And it's pretty clear that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance don't.
A woman president, man. How exciting.
If there is a God, she's a terrible writer.
One day, we all will be asked what we did to stop this MAGA movement. What will your answer be?
So yeah, I'm sure she has more clips on her show online and stuff. So those are her socials, but she did a great service here. Thanks for the mashup. Yeah. My sister said 240 years of pain. She's Jamaican, not African American. That is true. That is true. When are we Democrats going to put up somebody who's got like the ancestry? Like it's funny, like somebody like Tim Scott or whatever can't get no respect, and then they just put up somebody like Kamala Harris or Obama or somebody. Gosh, where to start? You need more reasons than she's a woman. Like you could say, well, don't you want a woman to be president? I suppose it would be neat, but let me ask you this question. For everyone who super cares and really wants there to be a woman president and really at this point is pushing that for Harris, if Joe Biden was still the nominee and if the Republican nominee was Nikki Haley, would you be going around saying it's time for a female president? Would you be saying that? Or would you be saying vote blue no matter who? I'm not saying there wouldn't be maybe some Democrats who might be excited to vote for a woman. But I think people vote blue no matter who, I do think Nikki Haley would have did well in the primary, but I'm not the primary because obviously she didn't win the primary. I meant the general election. I meant the general. Oh, here's a clip. Here's Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. He's being considered for VP.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Okay. when they're snitching on your neighbors and indoctrinating your kids and all that stuff. It's just neighborliness. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, guys. It's here's some more from like Sean Ashmore, who's Rudy. That was his name. Not Ashmore, Austin. Sean Austin. Sean Ashmore is one of the twins that was either Iceman or Jimmy Olsen. I don't know which one was which, but that's Sean Ashmore. This is Sean Astin. Ben Shapiro said that he has met him and he's a really nice guy. He just doesn't know anything about politics, but he's this really sweet guy, but he's just like, on the train but he doesn't actually know stuff. So here's a little bit of his talk.
He was always coming back to be with his men's group. I think they had more than white men in that group. So, but the idea that men can gather to talk about how we feel, interesting, powerful concept. And to include all, we said in our invitation, everyone is welcome. That's a really interesting phrase. Everyone is welcome. You might hear it in other places. I'm pretty sure you can feel that it's true here with this particular political party and this.
Yeah, that's not true. That is so not true. Sometimes when people will say to me or other Black Republicans, and they'll be like, "Oh, you guys just think there's no racism. That's not. You don't think racism exists." Or like, "Oh, we know it exists because we deal with white liberals." Or not just white liberals. I mean, black Democrats and stuff too will say off the wall stuff. But like the most sort of discrimination that we will feel are people from the left side of the aisle, because they'll get mad that you don't support what they support. And even white liberals will feel emboldened to talk to you sideways. There were some awful videos that I've seen on TikTok. There was one guy who was made a super racist video after JD Vance was selected. And he's like, "Oh, he didn't pick this black man. So what are you, race traitors?" And you like he said all these racial things to like pro Trump black people. And I can't find the original video. It was deleted. His other people started responding to it. So he deleted the video. Some friends of mine replied to it, but oh my gosh, I wish I had access to the original, because I would like to reply to all the racist stuff that he said. But Joe Biden's "you ain't black" comment, I've seen white Democrats say, "No, Joe Biden was right. Joe Biden was right. That even if you even just consider not voting for him, then you're not black. That's right in your eyes. That was a moral thing to say. That was a true thing to say in your eyes. That wasn't the least bit racist." It was just true. Okay. I don't know why Joe Biden gets to define what is black all of a sudden. Don't understand that at all. Let's move over to the women for Harris. So this person who's speaking, I think this is the one. Yeah, she's an influencer on TikTok, has a lot of followers, talks to folks, which people are like digging up and posting on Twitter and stuff now. But she talks to her audience like they're children, and infantilizes people she doesn't like. And this is just, it's so cringe, it's so dumb, it's so dishonest, but this is the sort of stuff that they push.
Ariel Fodor, affectionately known as Mrs. Frazzle to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers, is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way. So tonight, I'm going to share some do's and don'ts for getting involved in politics online and navigating the toxicity that comes with it. And spoiler alert, as much as the toxicity can come from the outside, it can come from us too. So first, don't isolate yourself. We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are tonight, because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on. So do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change. As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. So do check your blind spots. You are responsible for your algorithm, believe it or not.
Okay. They don't believe this. This is just virtue signaling nonsense. Because when I say something and I say, hey, abortion is bad. Hey, I like private health care, or hey, I think we need to do something about the budget. Hey, I think we do need to have a strong military. Hey, you know, we should keep our Second Amendment. I don't think we should have gun buybacks, like mandatory gun buybacks. I don't think you should be able to just take away our Second Amendment rights via executive order and just laugh about doing that. If I start saying stuff like that and they don't agree with those sorts of things, then it's a you ain't black nonsense. They don't just shut up and affirm you when you're a black conservative. Then you're an Uncle Tom. And then those sorts of insults using that character just means that you probably don't even know that story to try to use that character as an insult like that. But that's what they call you. They call you a Candace Owens or something. People call me like, oh, you're just a little Candace Owens. I'm like, first of all, I'm very much not like Candace Owens, but I'm really big. she is so small, so I don't even understand why I'm the little Candace and why she's like the big or normal size Candace. I would clearly be the big Candace, so I don't even know why people use that kind of insult toward me anyway, because I'm clearly a big gal. But they use that as, you know, as a racial slur. They don't just shut up and affirm when they don't agree with your worldview, and that's fine. That is fine. You don't have to shut up and stand aside when you disagree with someone. But you're not just gonna it's wrong to treat black people as if they just are some kind of moral authority. Like, because other people have suffered in the past, that people now here today just get some kind of special privilege to just be listened to and affirmed. We are not children. You don't even treat children like this. I don't know how She Gentle Parents or whatever treats children, but you don't just give children whatever they want and don't criticize them. You're just going to make brats. And what if people are wrong? You don't just stand by, like those guys talking about, you got to stand by women. You got to support a woman's choice. You got to support what she wants to do with her career. You got to, people pick wrong things. People make the wrong choices. We don't respect everyone's choice. When Trump won, Michelle Obama was out there saying that women voted for Donald Trump didn't listen to their own voice. What the frick does that mean? They didn't do what you wanted them to do. Therefore, they must have just betrayed themselves. Or maybe we just don't want the same things. Or maybe we want the same things and we see different perspectives on how to get there. But you could like actually converse and try to understand someone instead of just pretending that skin color says so much when it doesn't. Maybe you can make safe assumptions sometimes, But you know what they say when you assume things? They don't believe this garbage. They're just trying to make themselves feel virtuous. And they'd be willing to destroy the whole country if it made them feel good. Among the dust and the ash and the rubble, they would just look around going, at least we crucified our privilege to get here, guys. All they care about is looking good and patting themselves on the back. That's all. But they do not keep the same energy with people they disagree with, and that's great. The thing about Dems is that they uplift race to such a high degree, but it doesn't actually mean as much to them as they pretend. Because if you don't ideologically agree with them, then the race doesn't mean much. The race doesn't mean much. And on the flip side, I would say people on the right care about race more than they pretend. So I think both sides kind of got to come to be honest about this stuff. Judge someone based off of the content of their character, the body of work that they have, their record. You know, Trump, there was a lot to risk when he ran for president the first time. You know, he had his business, he has a bunch of ideas. You go off of that kind of stuff, and but you didn't know how he's going to actually execute. And a lot of people really liked him as president and liked the things that he did. But they didn't like kind of all the chaos, quote unquote, that the media portrayed all the time. So they wanted to kind of get back to normal or something. And that's what Joe kind of pitched. Not kind of. He was supposed to be the return to the adults back in the room, return to normalcy, blah, blah, blah. But he was very left wing and followed the far left of his party. And Kamala Harris is as left as they come. And they're trying to rewrite that, but we have the receipts. We have the receipts. So they're like, freedom. Pete's like, I just love how our campaign's about freedom. She's talking about confiscating our guns. or now she's trying to change her mind about it. We don't believe you, Kamala. Because you laughed at Joe Biden's face when he said you can't do things through the executive order. You should not be trusted. You do not deserve that kind of power. You cannot be trusted. Only a fool would trust her. Only a fool would trust her. There's a lot of fools out here. There's a lot of fools. And here's someone else speaking for the women for Kamala Harris. This person's not a woman.
Good evening, folks. My name is Charlotte Clymer. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a writer and activist, and I am so excited to be part of this historic gathering of women across the country. Now, look, I'm not going to repeat to y'all what the brilliant and eloquent women have stated before me, and nor do I have the eloquence and brilliance of the women who are going to speak over the remainder of the evening. I'm just going to tell y'all a quick story.
I don't have the story. I don't want to listen to it. But when Kamala Harris says that she's for women, she's talking about him. This is their image of women, the sort of women that they're standing up for. Because it's not you. It's not your daughters. It's not their private spaces. It's not the pools, the locker rooms, the spas. It's not their girl sports teams. It's not the Olympics. They got dudes competing in the Olympics against women right now. These are the sorts of people who Kamala Harris is standing up when she says she cares for women. Him. So if you're concerned about Title IX, the audacity when you're supposed to have women for Harris and this dude gets up in here as if it's totally normal. And you know what the narrative is right now on the left? That JD Vance and Trump are weird. JD Vance is so weird. He's so weird. Exhibit A? There's lots of exhibits we could point to. When they mean that they support women, they mean Dylan Mulvaney. When they say they support women, they mean William Thomas. That's what they mean. That's what they mean. They only mean that, they mean that and abortion. And of course, that wouldn't include these people because they don't have a uterus. But they don't support women in other sorts of ways. Here's one of the TikTok videos from that influencer, gentle parent person. This person compiled a thread from a couple things that she did, but we're just gonna watch the one.
America, if you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. Do you know why I am here today, my friends? Lollapalooza? No, but that's a very good guess. That was very disappointing. I'm actually here because those of you who are unvaccinated, yeah, you are not welcome to play with the vaccinated friends anymore. I know. And you know why that is? Because they don't want to die. That's right. They do not want to die. So here's what we're going to do. When you get a vaccine, you're going to get a really cool card. And you can laminate it if you want. And you're going to show it to private businesses and hospitals and schools to get inside. Does that sound good? No, are you having some big feelings right now? That's okay, friends. I'll give you 2 minutes, okay? And then I'll check back. Thank you, Miss Saki.
Yeah. Lots I could say there. If you got vaccinated, why are you concerned about the unvaccinated? You should be protected, right? But she sounds like a really bad parody of Miss Rachel, which I don't watch Miss Rachel, obviously, because that's a kid's thing. But I only know about Miss Rachel because Miss Rachel said something that kind of dawned on politics, and I touched on it a couple weeks ago. But Miss Rachel has a big following and does content for children and this like really baby talk. I can't see that being popular for kids if she, I mean, I know she's like making jokes about the right or whatever, and this kind of like, I'm talking down to them because they're so stupid or whatever, and you want to overcome their big feelings and whatnot. I get the purpose of her delivery, but if she was actually teaching children like this, I find that disturbing, because if I was a child, I would just think she was an idiot. and was being disrespectful toward me. You know, I just there's a lot of kids who don't really want to be talked to like they're a child. There's a lot of people who don't want to be talked to like they're a child, even though they are kids. Even though they are kids. Sometimes you can just be straight with folks. Like my nephew, he wanted a Bible, or he thought I think my dad was gonna buy him a Bible, and he bought like a kid's Bible, and he was just like, I want like a normal Bible like everybody else. And he can read, but he can't, you know, he's still a kid, you know, he's 9, but he just, you know, he just wanted to try to understand what everyone else was understanding and be treated like an adult, not like an adult, but, you know, just not like a baby. Oh, my sister said I was an adult since I was like 6 or whatever. I just wouldn't have enjoyed being talked to like this. I wouldn't have liked it. My niece, a couple weeks ago, she had some money, and she decided to give $10 to one of her friends, and then her mom was like, I thought you wanted to buy a Barbie. She's like, you need to talk to me before you do something like that. And she's like, oh, I just didn't think about that. And so she was so sad. And so she walked to like the front pew of the church and just kind of slouched down and was sad. And I knew she was starting to cry because she now didn't have enough money to go buy her own Barbie. And I went down to go sit next to her, and I said, well, Sophia, I think this can teach you a valuable lesson about the value of a dollar and how you spend your money and stuff, and fiscal responsibility. And I'm laughing because it's just, it was just kind of straight talk. And she's just like, yeah. And so I explained to her what she did, wrong, and that she shouldn't just do things like that. It's like, I know it's your money, but you need to talk to your mom before doing things like that. And so she said okay. And so then I gifted her back $10, but I gave it to her mom. I just cashed up to her. So I said, I'm gonna give you $10. I'm gonna give it to your mom, and so you can afford your Barbie or whatever, and continue saving up for your Barbie or whatever. So she thanked me. But yeah, we're we're pretty straight with these kids. We don't talk to them like that. I'm not saying we don't do baby talk to babies or something, but that's just annoying. I just wouldn't want to be in her class. I'd be like, I come home from school and be like, Dad, my teacher's an idiot. Like, I don't like my teacher. Can I have some? Can we get a different teacher? It just would not be my cup of tea. It would not be my cup of tea at all. Not in the least bit. But let's switch over to Biden and the Supreme Court stuff. We talked about it yesterday a bit. I'm gonna play a little clip of him talking about it, and then I want to play this clip of Ron DeSantis talking about the response to some of Biden's suggestions here.
The court is not self-policing. The court is not dealing with the obvious conflicts of interest. We need a mandatory code of ethics for the Supreme Court, and we need it now. My fellow Americans, based on all my experience, I'm certain we need these reforms. We need these reforms to restore trust in the courts, preserve the system of checks and balances that are vital to our democracy. They're also common sense reforms that a vast majority of the American people support, as well as leading constitutional law scholars, progressives, and conservatives. I look forward to working with the Congress to implement these necessary reforms. A number of members of Congress here today. The court.
Man, he's still mumbling, man. I know I'm a mumbler, but that's something that he's just now kind of having as he deals with his age issues. They keep going after Clarence Thomas and Alito because they don't like their views. It's really that simple. It's not because they really did anything wrong. Like, they'll say, well, Clarence Thomas, he rode on his friend's plane or his boat and he didn't report it. Well, originally he didn't have to report those sorts of things. Like, when I first explained this, as this controversy was breaking out, we were going to go see my nephew play basketball, and my sister was driving in her car, and I'm like, by the way, this is what's going on with the Supreme Court. So let's say Clarence Thomas got a ride from his friend, like, I'm getting a ride from you now. They think that should be reported. and because that wasn't reported, they're saying that he's corrupt. And like, what? And the rules for that kind of reporting, they revamped it. So it's not something that he needed to report in the past, but they're retroactively looking at all the stuff that he didn't report to say, oh my gosh, Clarence Thomas is a bad person because he didn't report all these things that he wasn't supposed to report, but now we're saying that you have to, so he's bad. And they came after Alito for just some dumb stuff. Anyway, they just don't like them. They just don't like them. And Joe Biden he's one of the most toxic people to suggest this. Back in there's a term called borking, where you have someone, who's supposed to be approved or whatever, and you just kind of railroad them. Because there was a guy who wanted to be on the Supreme Court and his last name was Bork, and they got rid of him. They just, decided to attack him in interesting ways, and then he couldn't, be confirmed. And so they tried to Bork Clarence Thomas with the Anita Hill situation. And Joe Biden, he's the ringleader of this madness. So before people would pretty much be like, okay, you're qualified, You've been appointed, by the president. Let's get you through. And Biden is the one who basically changed the game on this stuff. So him saying that, the court needs all these ethics and we need reform, when he is just one of the biggest, most corrupt folks there is, man. It's just insane to me. The reason there was a clip or something about them basically saying about, no, I think it was Harris's statement. She said something about overturning precedent and stuff. It's like, oh, you agree that there needs to be reform because you don't like the things that were in place were overturned. So you just don't like that you didn't get your way. So now you want to just change the whole game. You're just a kid who just wants to throw over the whole board because you couldn't win. And it's not supposed to be about winning, but it's just, what does the law say? What does the Constitution say? What did the founders mean at the time when they said it? And go from there and strike down different rulings. There's been rulings that the conservatives have made, that the court has made, that people on the right didn't like, but they're just trying to go by what they think the law is. And then they're mad about it. But here's Ron DeSantis talking about some of this stuff.
Washington federal level or not? So here's the thing, like, honestly, on the 18-year term limit for justice. So founders, I mean, if you go back and read the founders, they said you're going to serve during good behavior, which basically meant lifetime appointment unless you did something to get you impeached and removed from office. And they thought that was important because they wanted the judiciary to be insulated from the passions of the day, that enforcing the Constitution when it's popular to do so is not that big of a deal. You just follow the wind. It's tough when enforcing the Constitution cuts against the currents of public opinion. And so they wanted to insulate them from having to even worry about it. So something like a retention election would not make sense as the founders understood it. Florida's Constitution is not really the people that framed that were not necessarily in sync with our founding fathers when they did the U.S. Constitution. So the whole idea of retention election is undercuts what the founders wanted to do on that. Age limits, if you're going to do it for everybody in office. If you want to do 75, don't just apply it to justices, apply it to Congress, apply it to the executive. If you're going to do that, that would be one thing. But I don't see how you could say, so an 18-year limit, you'd serve for 18 years, you'd have a fixed term, you wouldn't stand for retention or anything like that. Honestly, like, I don't know that really, I mean, they don't like the court now because they're on the wrong side of ruling.
Yeah, it's just they're not getting their way, so they want to reform. Now, the term limits and stuff, I don't know how you're going to do all this stuff without, like, changing the Constitution, So, I mean, some of these things are just hype for their base. Hype for their base because they told the base that the court is bad and the decisions that they made was bad. Oh my gosh, they ruled for free speech. You have to stop them because I wanted them to enforce my will against people I don't like. How dare they believe in equality for all folks? What? We can't discriminate against people based on their race anymore. Gosh darn it. Yeah. We have to decide state by state whether we can kill our babies. What? That's crazy. What's really crazy about people being mad about Roe v. Wade is that most people do not believe that you should be able to have abortions past 15 weeks. And the reason why Roe v. Wade no longer exists is because in Mississippi, they tried to pass a 15-week ban. So think about what Roe v. Wade was enforcing. So if you wanted to protect a baby at 20 weeks, Roe v. Wade would not let you do that. Roe v. Wade would not let you do that. Most people think that's crazy. So most people would really be against Roe v. Wade, but they just don't know what it does. And the Democrats won't explain it. Joe Biden, I don't know if he was confused or he just was lying through his teeth on the debate stage when he talked about Roe v. Wade, because he said it doesn't allow late-term abortions. That's certainly not true. Certainly not true. Anyway, I think we've had enough for the white people cringe today. So, someone said most black women have abortions, not white women as much. I mean, no, I guess it depends on the state. I mean, most abortions in like Michigan are black women, but I mean, obviously, black people have a disproportionate amount of the abortions that occur. But there's still obviously more white people than there are black people and Asian people, etc. The amount of abortions that occur in Michigan from black people, that's insane because we're like 14% of the population, but we're 56% of the abortions. That is really crazy. But overall, it's still more white people doing it, but it is disproportionately hitting communities of color. So I think I'll reply to that little teacher woman and say, okay, you want to shut up and affirm? Let me speak and just talk about, the eugenics history of Planned Parenthood and the disproportionate amount of black babies that are killed and so on. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I want to reply to her or something, put something on TikTok. I'm just not sure yet. But I don't know. These white woke liberals just need to grow up, man. Just debate on the issues for your candidates and don't infantilize black people. I'm sure Kamala Harris will get the black vote. Black women are very loyal to the Democrat Party. But don't treat folks like they're dolls or their kids or something. Just they have as much moral agency as you do. Just and not everybody that you're even trying to affirm are children of or have their ancestry deep in American roots where they were enslaved. Their ancestors were enslaved. Many people immigrate over here and do quite well because they don't have the same sort of, I don't know, mentalities, and they come with a nickel in their pocket and they really want to take advantage of the opportunity of America. And I guess maybe they haven't been indoctrinated by the white woke liberals, but they'll get them in time too. They'll get them in time unless we can stop them. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. Tonight, 8 p.m. So, about 2 hours from now, less than 2 hours from now. Oh, no. It's 5 o'clock. Why is I thought it was 6 for some reason. So about 3 hours from now, a little less than 3 hours from now, my video that will be detailing 10 hoaxes, top Trump hoaxes will premiere. So go ahead and watch that, share that around. It deals with very fine people hoax, Russian collusion, suckers and losers hoax, and other things on there. So there's a total of 10. There's more that I'll probably do some other time, but these are in order of things that I think were most damaging to Trump. And then also like they touch the country as well. So there's plenty more out there. There's plenty more out there. So that'll be tonight. So go ahead and check that out. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.